we've determined then that 75% of the distribution is to the right of 127. Now, this again has changed the original problem where we said it was 69% of the distribution. We're going to say the problem now we're solving here is where 75% of the distribution lies to the right. Okay, so of 127. So we know that z equals negative 0.67 is what we want to find. So z equals negative 0.67, now modifying our estimate. 75% lies to the right, or very close to 75%, close enough for our purposes. Okay, now if x equals 127 when z equals negative 0.67, then what is standard deviation? Okay, well, we know where this point is between 0 and negative 1, and we know how far it is to the left of the mean, because the mean is given as 151. So from 151 back to 127, how far is it? Well, it's 24 units going from here to here. So that this z difference here corresponds to 24 units. So what we can say is that the delta z between here and here is negative 0.67, and the delta x from here to here, since it's from 151 to 127, it's 127 minus 151, which is negative 24. So negative 24 to get from here to here, negative 0.67 z values. Remember, the z value stands for standard deviation, right? So we conclude that negative 24 units of x is 0.67 of negative 1 standard deviation. Now, this means that z at this point has to be negative 24 over our standard deviation, using sigma for the standard deviation, because that's the meaning of standard deviation. So that sigma, using just a little algebraic rearrangement, multiply both sides here by sigma, divide both sides by z. Sigma is going to be negative 24 over z, negative 24 over negative 0.367, or 36. So in this case, standard deviation would be 36. Again, for this problem, for the 75%, standard deviation is 36. Now, if we go back to our original 67%, not to confuse you, so make sure you're straight that that's what we're talking about now. If we go back to our original 69%, okay, our original problem, then if we look up the 19% of area we have here, it turns out that that corresponds to z equals 1/2. So that z would be half a standard deviation. Our point here would be half a standard deviation, and at half a standard deviation, 69% of our distribution would lie to the right. And if that's at 127, then we see that from 151 over to 127 is half a standard deviation to the left. We go over another 24, we'll have a whole standard deviation, and the result will be 103. So for the 69%, our standard deviation would be what? Be 48. Now, this is separate from this. Here we did it based on the 75%, here we did it based on the 69%.